Hello, career thought leaders. It's good to see you today. And we are going live to talk about the latest in talent acquisition, 6 trends from LinkedIn on talent acquisition of the future, and what we need to know. We're going to be talking about how it impacts us as career services providers. So go ahead and drop a note in the chat. Let us know that you're joining us. If you're joining us on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button, and we will look forward to seeing you back again. And if you're on LinkedIn, wherever you're joining us, just drop a note. We come every Tuesday and talk about the now, the new, and the next in careers. And we are loving the new stuff that's coming out from LinkedIn. For some things, not for others. We talked about the new features last week. Today, we're just going to be talking about the ways that recruiters are using it and what we need to know. So let me get us live into our Facebook group here, and we will get going. So LinkedIn does a lot of talent acquisition studies. You probably have seen in our newsletter that we've been talking about some of the technologies that they're using for recruiting, and they've come out with some new AI tools for recruiting. And lo and behold, they're now sharing this data about how recruiters are using those tools, but then they expanded it and gave us 6 trends of how they're using AI in their work, and beyond that, the 6 trends, just one of them is AI related. So good to see you, Anthony. Great. Thank you. Glad that information is helpful. Thanks for joining us. And from Anne, and then excellent. Great to have you all. So let's first dive into, so the first trend in the recruiting of the future from LinkedIn was AI use. And for some of these trends, not all of them, but for some of these trends, we're going to talk about a few misconceptions that this trend might be causing, and then also what we need to know about it. So when we think about AI in recruiting, we often think about, applicant tracking systems. But there's a very big misconception that AI means that more applications will be automatically eliminated without a human seeing it. That's not where we're seeing this trend go right now. Recruiters are trying to figure out how to manage the influx of applications because of the AI job search tools, the auto apply, lazy apply, those types of things. But we're not seeing a huge increase yet of more automatic rejections based on a score or whatever, because the technology is just not there yet. Recruiters don't trust it to say, oh, if your score is below this number, we're going to send you an automated rejection. Will AI help them achieve more of that? I don't know. Kind of depends on who you talk to, whether or not they even want that to happen. Most of the research talks about how they're using it to improve their, they're using it to improve their scoring. They're using it to improve their processing, but less of the AI use actually has to do anything with that. And to see what they're actually using the AI for, I have a few different things. So the first is LinkedIn's own study about this. And I always take LinkedIn's data about LinkedIn a little grain of salt. Okay, maybe a big grain of salt, because they're just telling, it's a sales pitch, right? And they can take the data and do what they want to with it. But it gives us some information about what we need to know. So let's dive in and look at what we see. This is, they call the early impact. So it's the early impact of LinkedIn's features for recruiters. And I will drop this link in to the chat, but it's a LinkedIn's study of the impact of their AI tools. If you want that, actually, you can go to our latest newsletter, and you can find it in our newsletter as well. I'll drop the link on where to find that too. So if you want to get our newsletter, you can see it there. So what does this say? What are they saying to us here? They're talking about how recruiters are using AI. And this person says, really it's so that we can spend more time with the people and less time on the mundane tasks. And I don't think that recruiters consider reviewing resumes necessarily the mundane task that we all think they do, because that's not even what shows up here. Of course, it's not one of LinkedIn's AI tools, but we'll see how that's not really a huge piece of it. So they're using it to do assisted search, so AI assisted search, helping them find people on LinkedIn that have the right keywords. We talked a lot about this the last few weeks, helping our clients get the right keywords in there. And this is part of the reason why they're using search. They're using more tools in search. I don't know that I've been impressed with the way that the AI tools inside of LinkedIn find people, but maybe they're better on the recruiter side. We can hope, right? So this is one of the ways that they're using AI. They're using it to find people. Then they talk a little bit about how they're using it for messaging. So they're using it for search, and then they're using it for messaging. So if I'm going to send 10 people a message, I can actually use AI to personalize those messages, to improve the message, to make a better pitch to the client. And that's what a lot of this is talking about, how they used it. They did the messages faster, and then it talks about how the messages get accepted more when they're using LinkedIn's AI to write the message versus just doing it themselves. I don't doubt this. I think most of us struggle with what to say and how to be compelling and how to reach out to someone cold. So if LinkedIn has put in some of their best practices from recruiters to make this better, this wouldn't surprise me that it would increase the acceptance rate, because now you're kind of standing on the top of other recruiters' shoulders when you're writing these messages and you're doing a better job. So that makes sense that they would be doing that. And that's what a lot of the rest of this research talks about, is messages and getting engagement and getting responses, chatbots, those types of things we know recruiters have been using. So there's nothing really different about how they're using AI. It's just getting more integrated into their systems, which is what the trend is. It's AI implementation, that companies are starting to implement more of the AI tools because they've been around for a while now. More companies have access to them. More providers are delivering them, those types of things. So we're not talking about AI necessarily in resume reviews and those types of things. We're talking more about AI in the process, chatbots, scheduling, messaging, all the things that AI is really good at, because it's can do over and over again, and you can create a system and a template and make it work for you. So the other thing that I just wanted to show you, because it's been a while, is the data from Employ. So Employ does a study every year as well on how recruiters are doing anything. And we've shared this a while ago, but I just wanted to bring it back up so that you can see it. These are the data from Employ. Let me see if I can get it to work here. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is the data from Employ around how recruiters are using technology, whether they're using AI to augment their recruiting technology or not, and how frequently they're using it. And I'll have to go and find this study. Like I said, we talked about this a few months ago, because this came out probably late last year from Employ. Used to be Job Fight, and now they've merged with Employ. So it's an applicant tracking system company that surveys a broad range of recruiters. And then they talk about, are you using your own in-house tools, or are you using external generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini and all of those? And so you see that most of the recruiters, 47%, said they're using in-house tools, 28% using the freely available tools, and then 25% using both. And then here we get some of the ways that they're using it. And so they're using it for candidate matching. So that means inside their own ATS, keyword searching and sourcing. That's the piece we were just looking at for LinkedIn, where sourcing is I'm going out there and searching LinkedIn for finding people, and chatbots and messaging, career recommendations. So if I'm a job seeker and I'm on their site, they're using AI to recommend jobs to me, and writing emails, recruitment content, screening candidate via automated messages. So that might be, I'm having kind of a chat interview before I get further into the process. Candidate scoring, and candidate engagement scoring. So that's not necessarily resume scoring, job description recommendations, interview questions, communicating to new hires. So you can see all these ways that they're using AI. Actually, none of those even mention applicant tracking systems. So this is just important for us to know as we're working with people that AI does not necessarily mean that the bots are coming for your resume. It actually means that recruiters are streamlining their communication process so that possibly they can spend more time looking at actual resumes for clients that are a good fit. So that's data for us to know and to think about. How does this impact us? For what it means for our clients is actually that they could expect more messages. So make sure you've got your messaging app up in LinkedIn, that you're checking it if you're searching. LinkedIn is pushing those recruiter messages to you. So are you looking at your in-mails? Are you looking at your messages? If you're not, you might be missing out on opportunities. So some of our clients, I even talk about, some of the people in my household where I can get on their LinkedIn every once in a while just to see how the everyday person actually uses it, have messages just sitting in there, right? Lots of unopened messages sitting in their inbox. And if our person is job seeking, even if they're kind of casually, passively job seeking, and they want to be checking that more often now that LinkedIn is pushing this messaging feature to recruiters, not just the paid recruiter seat, but also even just in the recruiter light, they call it. There's more tools, there's more messaging going on. So make sure your job seekers are looking for that, and finding ways to engage back, even if they aren't necessarily interested in that opportunity. So that's the first trend. We've talked a lot about AI, so let's move on and we'll talk about some of the other trends. So again, this comes from the LinkedIn Talent Solutions blog and their six predictions. The next prediction that they talk about is skills-based hiring. So skills-based hiring is one of those terms that I think confuses job seekers. They think, oh, I'll just show my transferable skills and I'll get hired. But skills-based hiring is that they're still looking for the hard skills the job asks for. They're just not necessarily looking for it from a specific type of experience or a specific degree. Although there is some research showing that skills-based hiring necessarily hasn't decreased degree requirements. So that might be another false assumption that, oh, they're expecting less degrees since they're skills-based hiring. Skills-based hiring simply means that they're trying to do a better job of figuring out what skills does this job actually require, and then hiring for those skills. Those skills are still primarily hard skills because that's how we separate from the very beginning. Then the soft skills are the icing on the cake. I like that analogy, right? The hard skills are the cake and the soft skills are the icing. You can't eat the icing without the cake, unless you're, 4 years old or whatever. So we've got to have the hard skills first. And that's where people most of the time trip up when they're talking about soft skills or transferable skills, is that they don't think about communicating the transferable hard skills. They tend to go to the very fluffy, frosting-y place of the soft skills. Those are important and they are definitely differentiators. They're typically looked at to differentiate one hard skill qualified candidate from the other. So do I want a chocolate cupcake with pink icing or blue? Not, that I'm going to forego it altogether. So we want to have that conversation with our clients of really understanding the hard skills that the job is requiring and getting that into their resume. Because yes, they may be willing to look past not having a degree, but they aren't going to be willing to look past not having the hard skills. That's when you won't show up in the recruiter search, when you're going to be, easy skim through the resume to see that you haven't highlighted those hard skills, and I'm going to be moving past that to something else. Yeah, thanks, Elena. Yes, we got to have the cake. Although it was just my older son's birthday last night, and my 4-year-old, 5-year-old still was just eating the frosting off the cake. But most of us don't get to do that in the real world, right? So that skills-based hiring, keep an eye on it. There's a huge Deloitte study about skills-based hiring, and most organizations are still really struggling with it. So it's not going to change hiring until companies actually get a handle on it. I will tell you just a little nugget that I heard from a candidate I was talking to earlier today, that what they said they would do at every job was look at, okay, what skills is this job requiring? What skills is the next job requiring? When Denise kind of went through that a few weeks ago in the research piece where we were talking about researching skills. But when you look at those skills, what skills are required in this job, what skills are going to be required of my next job, and then making sure you're finding a way to get those skills. And for a lot of people right now, AI, generative AI, or AI in general, or some kind of technology skill is on the list of the future skills. And if you're not developing it, you're going to have a hard time finding that next job. So skills-based hiring is important to keep an eye on, but I don't know that it's really changed how people are hiring yet. So the next trend from LinkedIn was quality of hire. And quality of hire has been a metric that I've been hearing from recruiters since I started paying attention in 2010 or so. So that is, am I getting someone in who meets the qualifications for the job? Am I getting people in that, into my pool that I actually end up hiring? And when you look at quality of hire, then LinkedIn kind of spells this out here. I'll bring it up so you can see it from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn spells out what they see recruiters meaning by quality of hire. And this is their measurements of quality of hire. So job performance, how can they do the job? Again, that's usually based on your performance doing a similar job in the past. And when we're talking to our clients, we have to help them do that translation. I like to use translation instead of transferable skills because it really is translating what you've done into the language of the future so that employers can quickly see, yes, I've done this job before. Is the new hire making the team better? I think HR is still struggling with how to define this, because when you say fit, a lot of times that impacts diversity because we tend to think people will fit to look and sound like us. So they're still working on that, and kind of goes along with the culture ad of how will you fit into the mission and the future vision, not just the current one. Productivity and retention, how long do they stay? So when you're thinking about helping someone get hired, we know that the data shows people who are referrals, so people who someone else knows and refers into the company, stay much longer than other types of hires. So as much as talent acquisition kind of tries to get away from referrals because they can limit diversity, they seem to just keep going back there because the data is positive in terms of quality of hire. So I've seen some companies trying new programs for diversifying their referrals, but they kind of keep going back to referrals regardless of what's going on out there in the world. And with the push to be more equitable and more inclusive, they seem to be trying to figure out a way to make their referral programs do that versus getting away from referral programs. So that's what they mean by quality of hire. And that's one of the other trends, of course, that's not going anywhere. So redefining that, thinking about how they look for soft skills. But again, the soft skills are only going to matter if you also have the hard skills to get you found. Then they talk about agility. So that's, hiring needs are changing so quickly with supply chain challenges or just market demands. And we're seeing a lot of this in the job search market, where there's lots of layoffs, but then they're hiring on the other end. And how do you help a candidate, a job seeker, say, okay, this company is doing a huge amount of layoffs, but they're also hiring over here. How do I do my due diligence to make sure that it's really a good fit, that it's going to have at least a little bit of longevity to keep me employed for a few years or whatever it might be? But that when I see agility in talent acquisition, what we see on the other end then is the fluctuation of workforce, which means layoffs and hiring, and helping people manage that, both look ahead to make sure they're ready for that if they get laid off, but then also do a fair judgment of a company, just because they are laying off doesn't mean that they might not be a good place. If you want to look for companies that aren't doing layoffs, they are probably few and far between in many industries because of this agility. That's a very positive way that LinkedIn has phrased this trend. Hi, Deborah Ann. It's good to hear you. Good to see you. Hi, Robbie. Yes, San Antonio. I look forward to hearing how that market is doing. InMail, yes, definitely not spam anymore. InMail messages are being used by recruiters, especially recruiters who are using the paid recruiter features, and we don't want to ignore those. Thanks for highlighting that, Kathleen. Okay, so those were some of the trends. Let's keep moving here. So that agility piece, the read on our end is that we're going to keep seeing the fluctuations, the hirings, the firings, they just can't keep up with the changes in business and in demand. So the fifth out of sixth trend here was flexible work policies. So flexible work policies are important for hiring people in, for getting the best talent. And you're probably going to see more of those in demand industries and less of them in less in demand industries, right? One of the things I think our clients see when they hear flexible work is remote work. And those are two different things, very different things. We've seen a huge decrease in the job postings that are remote only jobs. Remote only jobs have plummeted. If your clients are stuck on looking for remote only jobs, they're probably struggling because the market for that has just tightened up extremely. What companies have done instead is gone to hybrid work. And in fact, in our latest newsletter, there's a study from Nature that you've seen other people, big names, talking about on social media, this new research, the Nature study, scientific study of hybrid work and how much it helped people with their work-life balance, with how they were feeling at work, and actually even their productivity. But that's not remote work. So yes, we'll see more flexible work, although I think companies are still kind of trying to figure out how to make that work for them and for the person. But you're seeing more of that, but that's different than remote work. So just helping our clients understand that and not be kind of putting themselves between a rock and a hard place if they're really stuck on remote only work. And it kind of goes through here. I'll bring this up again. It goes through the different types of flexible work arrangements that they're looking at. So you can see that as well. So fully in the office and that the negative impact that has on hiring. So this is all looking at talent acquisition here. Office first hybrid, so remotely a few days. Fixed hybrid, which means you can be more flexible. And then of course, work in office or remotely positively impacts recruitment, but that doesn't mean there's a ton of companies doing it. There may be more companies trying to figure out how to do it. But again, this is still a small pool of companies for our clients to try to target. So we're getting more flexible. Companies are figuring it out, but offering people to work remotely is resource rich, right? Your company has to have a lot of resources to do that. You have to do taxes in all of those states or have the structure set up to do, remote work in other countries or whatever it might be. We just need to help people understand all the things that go into it and what their likelihood is of getting that type of work versus what they need in their life, right? Always that cost benefit analysis of how much do you really need that versus being able to find a company that maybe is more hybrid, but still might have that local presence or in the office presence as well. I love the agility concept. Yes. And when we see recruiters talking about that agility, then of course we know job seekers are going to have to do the same. Because recruiters are talent acquisition, that's kind of the front line. And then our job seekers are going to have to adapt and do the same. All right. So their last trend here was that we are looking at attracting Gen Z and how that requires a new playbook. And I think this impacts all of our clients of any age, also impacts our clients that may be looking for leadership roles or in leadership roles. How can you do that? And so this was actually the number 2 biggest challenge that recruiters said they had, is attracting Gen Z into the workplace. And there's been some fun articles. There's one out of Australia that was talking about drums, just the perks, the weird perks that companies are trying to come up with to recruit Gen Z. And this article kind of says, hey, we don't know that we need all the weird perks. Here's what Gen Z wants. And it's probably not that surprising, right? Compensation, balance, flexibility, advancement, upskilling. A little video. Oh, let me see. I can pause that. Oh, let me get all this stuff up there and then we'll pause it. So it's a great information, again, for leaders, for you that work with Gen Z, just to kind of have in our mind what they're actually worried about versus maybe some of the other articles that we read, and to help them articulate what this means. So what does balance mean to you? How will you know if you're going to find it? We know that that's important to all these age groups. And so then we can talk with our clients about that as well, as they're choosing careers, as they're choosing companies, as they're bringing in what matters the most to them. So all the generations there have the compensation as the top thing, and balance. You see the drop off in boomers. Boomers are that bottom line there. And so it goes Z, millennials, X, and then boomers. So great information for us, even, doing our services with clients, presenting our services to clients, creating a program for clients, as well as they're doing their job search, what they might want to negotiate for, what they might want to look out for in their work. Pay, respect. Yes, that's what students want. It's not anything new. So I'm glad that companies are sharing that with each other. And we can help our clients of all ages negotiate for what they want, research companies and look for those things that are most important to them. So that was a little rundown here of the top 6 trends. And it's always good to pay attention to what recruiters are talking about, talent acquisition, the studies that they're doing. Like I said, I always take the data from LinkedIn with a little bit of grain of salt, because they're trying to pitch their services to recruiters as well. But it's important to just pay attention to that. We do have our social media for job search strategist class coming up starting on July 10th. So social media for job search strategist gives us the opportunity to really talk about all the ways that our clients can tap into all the ways that recruiters are recruiting. LinkedIn is definitely one of them, but there are so many other ways, especially depending on the type of job that you're looking for and the type of work that people are looking for. We've got a nice little graphic here on our page, so I'll just pull that up, of all the different ways that recruiters are looking for clients. And we know that it's changed over the last few years. It will continue to change. It's something we can keep our eye on. But we don't have to know how to use, we don't have to have a YouTube channel to help a job seeker think through how they might be able to use that for job search if it fits for them and the companies that they're targeting. But we've seen a drop off in the use of LinkedIn because there's other options and because there's a lot of barriers to using LinkedIn for recruiting. I mean, the price barrier, as well as, people not responding to in-mails, as our colleagues were just talking about. So we've seen a little drop off there and an increase in the use of really anything and everything where a recruiter can connect with a job seeker. So this class is all about teaching you how to teach your job seekers that they can be on the platforms that matter for their industry, so they can make those connections, build those relationships. We do talk about getting found, but a lot of it's a lot more proactive in how you can build those relationships and be that trusted person when someone's going to do a referral or when a recruiter is looking for someone. So that's our next thing that we have coming up. The last thing that I'll drop in here for you is that we also have our Tech Jam coming up. And Tech Jam is an opportunity for us to go through technology tools that we will share during Tech Jam, which is a separate event, but we also share during these sessions. That's where I went and did the research. Some of the research that you saw today was from Tech Jam last year. So if you're interested in participating and telling us what kind of technology you want to hear about, you can share it in our Tech Jam poll here. We got a little Tech Jam poll where you can tell us what types of technologies you're interested in learning about. And that will not only feed our Tech Jam event, but it will feed these sessions that we do on a regular basis. So if you are, following along, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button or follow button on LinkedIn. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for the Now, the New, and the Next in Careers. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.